Hey guys, Christopher here.
Hey guys, Noah here.
Hope you enjoyed last week's feature on our OSR series. Tonight we're going to go back to something that could go a number of different directions. We like topics that are controversial. I don't feel like at its very core this is, but you can make a yo-yo controversial. You can make anything controversial. So do with
Right.
this what you will.
I feel like in a way it is going to be controversial in the manner of like again, I feel like a lot of the things that we kind of dive into and we get into are not your mainstream paranormal activity in the way that you know what I mean, and it's one of those things that you kind of need to you're either going to believe in it or you're not going to believe in it. So take what you can with it. Anybody that believes in it, I hope you can get a lot out of it today. And if it is something that you don't believe into, at least just hear us out on it. Just get where we're coming from on this. But this is more of a topic that is more of your area of things. This is a very much topic for you and your knowledge on it. It's something that I don't have a ton of knowledge in. So I guess it's gonna everything that I talk about is more gonna be on my very recent exposure to it and what I've seen and what I've witnessed from it. So, yeah, I'll kind of like give it over to you because this is kind of like your stuff here.
So, the intention behind tonight's topic, we're discussing energy work. And more often than not, I'm going to refer to energy work as opposed to Reiki, which are two things that are very much closely connected. But Reiki is a specific lineage, it's a specific tradition that's passed down. Yes, it is energy work. Do I think people can do things similar to Reiki without being Reiki attuned? Do I think people have the ability to utilize energy and call it energy work? Yes, I do. But still, just for simplicity and clarity, I'm going to more frequently refer to energy work tonight as opposed to Reiki, unless I'm talking about something from the specific Reiki tradition.
Okay. Okay.
When I say that I feel anybody can do energy work, I don't think anybody would disagree with the statement that there's energy all around us. I also don't think that most people would disagree with the statement that all things contain energy, all things have energy, whether it's a living being, a human, a dog, a squirrel, a water bottle. I mean, all things have energy. I think there's very few people that would disagree with that.
Right.
Locations have energy. When we pass on and our spirits remain, our energy remains. Is it a matter of the spirits are still carrying energy or the spirits are energy? Ooh, I didn't
I like.
necessarily know that was going to go that way, but now it has.
I kind of like. I kind of like. I kind of like that. I think that aligns a lot with a lot of the things that we talk about. So that makes sense.
I don't think I've ever worded that way before. It just came in this moment, and it does make sense. It does
Yeah.
make sense. I mean, that takes us into a location where we're connecting to something that's intelligent or residual. God, there's so many directions this can go. I've already completely veered away from the traditional energy work and Reiki concept and have opened an entirely different can of worms.
Yeah. Right. Which is always fun, and that's where it maybe gets a little controversial.
It is fun. So maybe let's back up to energy work in its more traditional context.
Right.
And for a moment, I might just narrow that by referring to it as energy healing. I think just about anybody that has the ability to bring their hands up in front of them can feel that there's energy between their hands. Energy or chi, as it might be called. You bring your hands farther apart, Maybe you don't feel the energy as strongly. You bring them closer together. You can feel the energy more strongly. We can use that energy for different purposes, whether it's healing, cleansing, other, whatever the intention might be.
Right.
And now I am going to go into Reiki for a moment.
Okay.
Because when I refer to Reiki or Reiki energy, when I teach my Reiki 1 class, I always say that Reiki energy is intelligent. It knows what to do and where to go. So there's another whole piece. Do I have to give this an intention? Will it still know what to do and where to go? I think it will. Do I like to give it an intention? I do, because I like to do everything with intention.
I feel like it's almost like one of those situations, like, so how you can maybe tie that into something else that we talk about. But it's this idea that if the creator of the universe is how I'm going to refer to that. The creator of the universe, if that is energy itself, sentient energy that literally makes up the entire universe, it would, you know what I mean? It's always been there, right? Well, then it is going to be sentient. You know, it's the creator. It knows all, it sees all, it is everything essentially, right? So
Right.
therefore, the energy force in which we can't see that sort of guides everything in the way it's supposed to be, that's what that energy would be. So therefore, how it just sort of like naturally goes the way it's supposed to, well, that's because there's some that it is something that is pulling the strings. And it's kind of like one of those things that, as far as like putting the intention, it's almost kind of like we say things like karma and stuff like that. You know,
Right.
you get what you give, type of thing. And so if you put in an intention out there for something that you want, if you put that out there into the universe is going to answer you. So maybe that's part of it.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I always feel like too, whenever I'm giving energy, that's how I'm going to put that. When I'm sending energy, do it that or word that how you want. If it's not needed somewhere, it'll go where it's needed.
Right.
I mean, do I feel like I always need permission from someone to send them energy? Yeah, it's nice when there's that permission and the intention aligns, but what if I just feel compelled and it's not what they need? It'll go somewhere. It'll do
Right.
what it's meant to do. And two, when I do any sort of energy work, or in my case, a Reiki session on someone, one of the last things I like to do at the end of their session is sweep away any energy that they no longer need. Then I take it and I transform it into something that's useful and send it off to where it needs to go. And sometimes that can be going back to the earth. Sometimes it's got a mission and a purpose, whatever it is. But to me, that is very much a part of intention.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I almost feel like we should throw out there why we chose this topic for tonight. I mean, with where this is going.
Right. So I think the reason in which we chose this topic for today is, I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but it's very much, there's, in the next film series that's going to be coming out here, hopefully very shortly, as far as part one is concerned. Something I'm currently working on right now. But in the next film series, which is our investigation of the Madison Seminary, which very much picks up from where OSR leaves off, very much picks up right in a very strange way. So you're definitely not going to want to miss this one. But the things that happened while we were there very much involve energy work itself. And it was one of those things that actually, like, it was something, obviously I knew this was something you did at that point in time, and we talked a lot about it, but I had never done it. You know what I mean? And it was very much my first experience with doing it. And in the moment of doing it, and this will make more sense when everything comes out, and this is part of the spoiler stuff that I don't want to really give away at this point in time. When it happens, I didn't even know 1,000% that that's what I was doing,
Right.
but I was led to do it, and it was for good reasons, and it was a good thing that I did it, so I'm glad it happened. But it was one of those cases where I was being led to do something and I kind of understood what it was, but I trusted the source in which it was coming from. So that's where I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's go with it. And it ended up being a good thing that I did it, thankfully. But I figured that since that is getting ready to come up, and I feel like that is something that not a lot of people are really in tune with, or they
Right.
really know a lot of, I mean, hell, from my point of view, I can even say that, like, again, like I just said before, this is even a topic that I'm not super knowledgeable about. There's things that I know, and but most of what I'm going to say today is based off of just my own experience and maybe some theories that I have behind things or stuff like that. But as far as like actual knowledge goes, I don't really have a lot. That's more of your realm of things. So I figured this would be a good topic to kind of explain and talk about, so that way people weren't completely in the dark, maybe when they go to see that, or if they go and see it and they haven't watched this episode and they're really confused, they can always go back and maybe understand what that was after we explain it here a little bit.
Right. I mean, there's definitely some references at the end of OSR Part 3 that lead right into the energy work that's going to happen in our next series.
Right.
And I have got to say, stay tuned for one of the main portions of our energy work in the next series, because there's something that I say that's just so fucking epic and funny. I couldn't have planned it if I wanted to, because it was so in the moment.
That was, it was epic. It was so funny.
When you watch it, if you've seen this first, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to.
It's going to be very early. It's going to be in part one. So that's the nice thing, is that people won't have to wait super, super long for that. That'll be in
Yeah,
part one, because
it was the
that's,
start of the night.
yeah, it was kind of, it's very much the start. What a hell of a start. What a way to start that.
Right. But since then, the different ways that we've used energy work, and again, I don't want to say too much because there's so much coming up that people haven't seen yet.
Mhm.
I've found that since we've been on this journey, I've used energy. I've even used, I'm going to go as far as saying Reiki, since I'm attuned to it, in ways that I never have before, within
Right.
locations and fusing it into symbols, which is really ironic since much of what Reiki is and does has to do with symbols. There's specific symbols that you can use to deliver intention. There's symbols you use for the attunement process. Just since
Wow.
we've started this journey, I found myself using energy in very, very different ways
I guess I
that I
didn't know
never had
that.
before.
I don't think I knew that. I mean, yeah, I definitely didn't know that Reiki had its own symbols. So that's actually really interesting that you say that.
I've actually got a number of them built into my arm sleeve.
Oh shit. See, I've been thinking about that as well. Not to veer too much off of that, but that's like something like, because obviously, like I deal a lot more with like the like Nordic symbols and stuff like that,
Right.
and like obviously I've gotten much more into like creating my own binding runes based off of other runes and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, I've been thinking of like of ways to like include them in a tattoo piece. So you just that like made me think of that. So I was like, oh, that's
It's
cool.
so incredibly powerful.
I think it's like an extra layer of just, again, whatever intention you set. You know, if it's protection, if it's strength,
Right.
courage, you know, anything spiritual power, however you want to, whatever your intention behind it is. But I feel like that could be a very powerful thing to do. So that makes sense.
Right. One thing I want to make sure I put out there, since so much of what I do with energy, so much of what I do with Reiki relates to the 7 main chakras. I just want to throw a little bit out there about what each of the main 7 are and what they represent. Because I am certain that just about everybody listening to this knows about the concept of a chakra, as they've heard of it before, but might not necessarily know what they do.
Right.
So our 7 main, from bottom to the top, we have our root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Starting at the bottom and working up, our root chakra relates to grounding and security. Grounding and security. The sacral is our creativity and emotions.
Okay.
The solar plexus is personal power and self-esteem. The heart is love and compassion. The throat is communication and self-expression.
Couldn't help but laugh on that one, could you?
I tried so hard. I tried so hard not to. The third eye, which people probably hear referenced the most,
Yeah, I would
is
say that's probably
intuition and perception. And what we do, whether people do it from our extreme or not, we know we do things differently from most.
right.
I think just about everybody who sets foot into a location with an intention to do anything even close to what we do is engaging that third eye to some capacity.
Right.
And then last but not least is the crown, which is spiritual connection and awareness. So the chakras are more often than not seen as wheels of spinning energy. And when I check someone's energy, the first thing I do is use my hands to run down the main chakras, and I notice, well, what I notice. Sometimes it's a temperature different. Sometimes it's a different physical sensation. Sometimes I get an image that tells me there's something there going on that needs attention. And then I also like to check it, or each chakra, with a pendulum. So when I place the pendulum, if it's spinning, and that means that a wheel would be spinning,
Okay.
when all is as it should be. This is my interpretation of how I use the pendulum for that. Other people might do it differently, and that's not wrong. Everybody should do it based on what resonates with them. Now, if I check a chakra and we're not spinning, we're moving in any other direction, or it's erratic, then we've got some chaos. Things are not moving in the way that they should be. If there's no movement at all, that to me is a blockage. The energy there is blocked. And when we think of all those different things that I just mentioned, from grounding and security to creativity and emotions, personal power, self-esteem, love, compassion, communication, intuition, spiritual connection, I'm sure we can think of an occasion in our life where something's just felt off. And if we dig at it and think, that connects to one of those things.
Right.
That's not the work that most people think to do to heal these things or bring them back into balance or deal with these issues.
Right.
So even though it's much more common today, very well accepted, it's not something everybody knows about or thinks about. To me, this is a very important means of healing. Does it solve all of our problems? No. I mean, nothing's going to solve all of our problems, but energy work in this context and getting into the chakras and fixing what might be blocked, what might be unbalanced, it's not going to hurt.
That makes sense. And I feel like for maybe a lot of people that don't really think about it a lot is because it is on the side of things that are a little bit more hard for people to believe because it's not something that you can see or hear, or when you talk about you can, like feel it, it's not in the general sense of like how, you feel a physical cup or feel, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like it's hard to explain to people what you're feeling about, like whenever you're feeling the energy of something. It's hard to explain because you're not necessarily feeling it in the traditional physical sense, which is how everybody incorporates what feel means, right?
Right.
So I can understand it's a little bit more of a harder concept to wrap one's mind about because it is so different than what you've been taught your entire life. It's
Right.
very different. So I can understand people like that's why it doesn't come across their mind, or it's a little bit, whenever people see it, they're a little bit more judgmental or a little bit more standoffish to it because it's foreign to everything they've been told before. So it's a hard pill to swallow. So I can understand it, but I can also tell you from experience that even for me, I won't lie, whenever I first started getting into it, it was a little bit of a concept that was harder to believe. However, the moment I fully accepted it into everything else that I've done, it's like a huge gateway or door had been opened for me in the sense of pieces that maybe not have connected before all of a sudden started to connect in ways I never thought they were going to, that make a lot of sense. So it's kind of one of those things that, and I guess maybe my general message with me saying this is that if there's something that you're not quite sure of, just give it a chance maybe. Maybe you believe in it, maybe you don't, but at least give it that chance because you never know when something you never really considered before all of a sudden shows itself in a way and opens doors for you in places you never even thought possible. So just kind of keep that in mind, maybe.
Right. Absolutely. So, since my background has been so much based in energy work, I mean, I could go on all night. Talk a little bit about what your experience with it has been. Just, I mean, whatever you can
Okay.
say without giving too much away about what's to come up.
Right. Right. Um, so it's very much been a process for me because, like I just said, it was something that I never really. I understood the sense that energy is everywhere because you can use different words, even scientific words, to explain energy. One could call it mass. Whenever they talk about mass, is everything and is everywhere. I feel that is energy itself. Frequencies is another word you might hear somebody use for energy. The frequencies that make up everything, that can be energy. So I was under the understanding that energy is everywhere and energy is everything in a sense. But as far as like the idea behind sending energy and stuff like that, that was one of those things that I was like, I didn't quite understand. And I didn't really necessarily believe in at a certain point in my life. And it was because, again, I was just naive to the sense of, well, how does that work? How can I send energy when I can't see it, I can't hear it, or anything like that? And that's where working with you and seeing the things that you've done and how it's lined up, and then like moments with my spirit guide when she starts telling me, and again, this is very much like goes into what happens at Madison when I do my first session of energy work myself. I incorporated it with the feelings that I were feeling at that point in time as far as my empathic abilities. It was very much coinciding in the sense of she'll sit there and she'll explain something to me on what to do, how to do it, and maybe even a little bit of why I'm doing it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, okay, we'll go with it. And at the same time, I'm trying to add any sort of acknowledgement on my part as far as like, am I really doing this? What's going on here? And I started to notice a shift or a change in what I was feeling or how I was feeling about something. And it was like, holy shit, like this is actually working. And I started to somewhat understand what you say when you talk about feeling that energy. And I already knew I kind of did this with the empathic abilities, because like when we go into a haunted location, I'll walk into a room and I'll know like, okay, there's something here. Sometimes it takes me a second because it's almost like getting hit with a Mack truck of emotions. You know what I mean? Like you're just sitting there like all of a sudden like there might be so many emotions in a room because who knows how much history is in that room. So it's almost like you just get hit with this wave of emotions. So I try to figure out what are the emotions that's hitting me the hardest in that point in time. And sometimes it just takes me a second to really get grounded is the word I want to use there. Get grounded in what I want to really pick apart. But I noticed that energy feeling and the energy feeling between receiving and pushing out energy is almost the same. It almost feels the same to me. At least to me it does. And so that's how I started to kind of understand the two and understand how it works, maybe why, or not why it works, but just kind of like, because that's something, obviously we're still researching in our own way of like, why does it work the way it does, like why do things work out the way that they do. And it's an interesting topic that we could sit here and talk about for forever about the
Right.
possibilities of it. But I think that's most of, I guess, what my thing on that was. I just started to notice the similarities of what I felt and like with my empath abilities and the similarities between that and energy work whenever we would do certain things. So I just, in my own way, because again, it's not something that I'm a master at or anything like that, or I haven't taken any classes for it or anything, which I want to do maybe at some point whenever we have time to do it. But it's one of those things where I've just tried to be a visual learner and create my own thing off of it based off of everything I've heard you talk about. And when I watch you do certain things, I try to understand that in sort of a maybe even a third eye type of thing. Like I try to understand it in that way and then replicate it in a way. But also because again, it's like we can talk about like how we mix it with symbols sometimes and stuff like that. I feel like energy work is very much, there's a point where you can learn things, and then there's a point where I think you kind of just have to figure it out as far as what does it look like and what does it mean for you specifically.
Right.
And again, this is coming from someone I'm not very educated on this. I'm very much just speaking off of general thought here.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. I do think for everybody it's different. I mean, when we go back to the idea that there's energy everywhere, everything is energy, that is going to mean something different to everyone. And I mean, I know people use energy very differently from how I do. And I would never say that my way's the only way. I mean,
Oh,
when someone comes to
right.
me and says they're a Reiki practitioner, I ask them, are you Reiki attuned? And they say, well, no. It's like, well, all right. Well, then you're not quite a Reiki practitioner because you're not attuned in that tradition. But I would never sit there and tell them that they can't call themselves an energy practitioner, energy worker, because energy being what it is, it's just there. It's available to everybody.
Right, it's almost like everybody has that right, you know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody has the right to do energy work because everybody is made of the same energy source is
Right.
what is coming to mind right now. They're all a part of the same energy source. So everybody has that right, but I can understand what you're saying from being somebody who is a Reiki master, that if you don't understand the traditions of Reiki and everything like that, then no. you can't just call yourself a Reiki practitioner, because if you don't understand Reiki itself, that's like that's like me saying that I'm a professor in astrophysics. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I can't do that. I know very little about astrophysics or anything physics wise. I know very very little. So I'm not a
Right.
professor. I'm not a professor in it. You know,
I
there's
mean,
very little I would consider myself a professor in. I
right.
don't know if there is anything I would consider myself a professor at. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But so the point is that it's one of those things, like, unless it's something that I feel like you're very educated about and you've done a lot of your own personal research into and growth into, I don't think you have the right to kind of sit there and say that it's almost false advertising in a way.
Right. When I bring up the name Mikao Usui, Dr. Usui is seen as more or less the father of Reiki.
Okay.
And I can actually trace my lineage all the way back to him.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like he attuned this person and they attuned this person and all the way down to when I got my attunement. And whenever I attune someone, I give them a copy of that exact same thing with their name right underneath mine. So they can see their lineage all the way back to Dr. Usui, who's seen as, again, the father of Reiki.
Okay. That's actually really cool. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
So without some sort of lineage, I really feel that one should not be calling themselves a Reiki practitioner. I'm going to throw out there, for example, too, there's many different traditions of witchcraft, and some of them are truly traditions and styles that were developed and brought forth and taught. And for one to say that they're a practitioner of a certain tradition, well, unless they've been initiated into that tradition, I mean, no, you're not. You can say you're a
Right.
practicing witch all day. That's available to anybody who wants to take that path and claim that
Right.
title. But to say they're part of a specific tradition, it doesn't work that way unless you've done the work and been initiated. Same thing here
Right.
with
And
Reiki.
I think even like a pure example of what you're saying is like, I think as a lot of these episodes for Crooked Path is going to come out, people are going to start seeing some of the stuff that we do, and obviously you're very open about your yourself being a witch and stuff like that, which again is kind of like, before people start getting like, oh, he's a witch, like he's into crazy dark weird shit, it's like, no, stop, actually do some research before you say what you're saying. Like, do some research into what that actually means, because I feel like the word witch always gets thrown around with like Satanism, and it's so far from the truth it's not even funny. But I don't know why, I just felt the need to throw that out there, because that is one of those things that, like, when I see that now, I even myself like start to get a little bit like irritated by that. In a sense, it's like, no, that's not what that necessarily means. Like, do some research before you say what you're getting ready to say, because I don't like to say things myself unless it's something I've really looked into. And that's why I say, hey, I might not be right by this, so take it with a grain of salt. I
Right.
like to be thorough in that sense, because I don't want people thinking that, like, if I say something and I have any bit of confidence in it, it's because I've at least done some bit of research. Now I'll go back and say, hey, I was full of shit, but throwing that out there. But anyway, I think as some of the movies come out and some of the things that I do, there might be things that people see me do, and they'll be like, "Oh, which?" And it's like, no, actually, I no, I am not at that level nor education to call myself that, anything of the nature. I'm just not. Now, I am kind of getting more involved in that path, so maybe eventually I'd be at that level, but at the moment, no. The most I think you could say is that, like, I'm very much down the the paganism road, which paganism itself is such a broad term that could mean just about anything.
Right. Right. I
Honestly.
mean, many Many pagans are witches, but not all. So yeah, those
Right.
are two different terms.
Yeah, yeah. Paganism is not necessarily connected to witchcraft, but a lot of witchcraft is involved in paganism.
Right. I mean, witchcraft is just what it sounds like. It's a craft, it's a practice. And not all pagans practice that.
And I think the thing about it too, though, is that like, and this is where the misconceptions may become, is that from my general understanding of witchcraft, and witchcraft is just simply the practice of magic itself and being connected to the universe.
Right. The universe, nature, whatever you want to call it.
Right, and that's right. It's a broad term because it's however you want to interpret it. Whether you just say nature or you could say the universe, because technically the nature is part of the universe.
For
So
sure.
however you want to look at it is basically what I'm getting at. But it's basically the just simply the practice of understanding and using magic and being connected to the universe, nature, whatever you want to look at it as. So, like all things, there is the good and the bad. You have
Right.
sides of witchcraft that focus on the bad and they go their path, and then there's side of the good. You are very much on the side of the good.
I am. Yes, I am. I'm going to throw it out there that at the same time, I can be very gray. I consider myself to be very balanced.
I think that's just natural, though. And me personally, I think that's the way that the universe is almost intended. And this might piss somebody off here when I say this, but it is what it is. That's one of the things that kind of, when I started to think about this whole concept of the universe, that actually got me away from my previous involvement in the Christian church. Because whenever they talk in the Christian church about how, God created everything, and he created everything in the universe, right? And they'll also tell you that God is nothing but light. He's nothing but good, right? And that evil is essentially the absence of God. Well, I had a really hard time understanding this or comprehending this, because I feel like it's almost a contradiction of what you're saying. Because if you're going to tell me that God is and created everything, then how does evil exist? If he's all good, then everything he created should be good. There should be no concept of evil.
Right.
And there can't be an absence of the good if he created everything. If everything, you're saying everything is him, then there is no absence of God, right? So I feel
Right.
like there's some contradictory statements there. And that was part of my issue. So that's where me personally, and this is back to this whole energy thing where I talk about the creator of the universe, I believe, is energy itself. It's a sentient energy that literally makes up everything in the universe. I feel like it would be very much gray. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just neutral gray. Because
Right.
therefore you have, like, good exists and evil exists. It's neither that or that. So therefore, this is where we talk about free will. It's up to you to decide what path you're going to lead. And guess what? Back to karma, you get what you put out. If you give out good, that's the side you're going to be on. If you put out bad, that's what you're going to get
Right.
at some point.
And sometimes I just have to be karma.
Right. We all have to be our own karma in some
Right.
in some capacity.
Hence the
Um,
gray.
right. So right, and that's why I say it like that, because I feel like it's one of those concepts that, like, people might be mad at me for saying it like that, because again, I'm not trying to necessarily disrespect anybody's beliefs and stuff like that, because I was very involved in the Christian church for many years, and I'm not saying that everything they talk about is wrong. I don't believe that at all. I think there's a lot that they have right. It's just that I'm not okay with saying they have everything right. I think that there's things that they have right. I think there's things that another religion has right. And I think the point of it is, the universe is a giant puzzle, and our job is to essentially put the pieces together. We have to figure out what fits where and how it makes sense to create the entire picture. And so if I just took everything that I heard at base value, I wouldn't be doing my job. You know what I mean? I have to
Right.
look at things at a multi-layered view of it to
Right.
understand it. And I feel like the only way to truly do something is to fully understand it. So that's why I look at things that way. I think I just try to take a little deeper look into things, and when I take a deeper look into things, I start getting feelings or thoughts about it, and then I form my opinions based off of those. So that's just why I speak the way that I do. And I'm
Right.
sorry if that offends somebody, but that's not my intention. It's just that I am very much in the search of knowledge, and that's what I'm trying to do.
That's what it's all about.
Right.
I I just love that I seem to have a reputation in the spirit world. How many times do I walk into a location, walk into a room, somebody has necrometer on or their spirit box going, I walk in and it says witch. The second I walk in, it even happened in the Civil War house the other day. I walked.
Oh wow, that's funny. Wow,
I love that I have a reputation.
that is cool.
It's like it's
And
stamped
I
on my
think,
forehead.
and that's funny too, because it's almost like since we've been involved in Crooked Path and we've now done so many things together, it's almost like the fact that my name is even popping up a little bit more now. Not a lot, not nearly as much as yours is, but even the fact that mine is seeming to come up a little bit more now is interesting to me too. It
Right,
almost feels like I'm finally on the right path of where I need to be to do things the way I need to do them.
right. No, I agree.
Don't know.
Once, again, people haven't seen it yet, but you've had an opportunity to actually use and work with energy. And once you do that, it leaves an imprint. It puts something out there. And it's something that I think is recognized in the universe, recognized in the spirit world. Either way, I think both of those things I just said are valid. So your name coming up more because you've done that work, you've left that imprint. It makes sense.
Yeah, when you put it like that, yeah, it definitely makes sense.
I never really thought about it. It's another one. I never really thought about it that way until this moment as I talked through it.
I think that's what's cool that maybe people don't really get to realize is what I want to say, but like a lot of the things that we talk about in the way that we talk about it is like it's an ongoing thing. Like we just keep having these revelations about things that maybe we've thought about 100 times, but we never really connect the dots until a certain point in time. So moments like that where you're just like, oh, I've never thought of that before. It's a cool moment to see because it's almost like again, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it's like, oh, we haven't had time to really dive deep into that thought yet. But it's kind of like, ooh, let's put a sticky note on that. Let's thumbtack that so we can go back
Right.
to that later and see if that pans out to be anything.
Right. I mean, there's so many different ways you could analogy that. I mean, now you've left this energetic footprint. Or you've added an ingredient to the soup. There's my soup analogy. I always use. I had to get it in there once.
You get the you get one big giant soup.
Had to reference the soup. I even said something about the soup in someone's reading the other day. Fuck. No, once
Is
that energy is out there, I think it's recognized.
yeah,
I think everybody and everything has its own unique energy.
and
And once that energy is put out there, it's recognized.
I wonder if that has anything. Like how you've talked about like how you notice like you kind of first I think noticed this with like your work on the Ouija board and stuff like that, but like each person that uses the Ouija board has their own like signature in the way that they move the board and stuff like that. And it's
Absolutely.
almost like I wonder if that has anything to do with your energy, if that is part of your signature. If you've got your own signature about your energy, and that's how they're able to notice one's energy imprint. I don't know. That just kind of popped into my head, so I don't know. Maybe.
I think so. I mean, the ways in which I've seen a particular spirit do something so specific on the board that it's just personal to them. I mean, I can't even put a number on that. It's
Right.
incredible the different things I've seen based on each spirit's individual energy.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I don't know if there's really much more that we can say about today's topic. You know what I mean? Without diving into a huge can of worms. Is there anything else that you think we need to bring up?
I don't think so. I don't want to go too much farther because I feel like we're going to be going too deep into what's coming up next.
I
This is
think I
definitely
think there's a
something.
lot of this topic that's going to be continued. Like we'll revisit this one sooner rather than later because it's almost kind of like there's some things that need to be seen, so therefore we can kind of cover it a little bit more in depth. Because I'm the same as you. I don't want to give away certain spoilers because I want people to experience it very much in the same way that we did in that real time sort of feel.
Right. Once some of these next couple of movies are out there, we'll definitely revisit this.
Right. Um, but yeah, so I don't know that there's much more that can or needs to be said about it today. Um, but yeah, I just want to, I guess, throw a couple things out there real quick that are exciting. I think A is that again, part one should be done here shortly. I hope. I'm currently working on it right now, and we're making some progress on it. So hopefully that is done here in the very near future so we can get that out to you guys. And this next part is I didn't know if I was going to bring it up at all, but I think I'm going to. I don't know. I just feel compelled to do it. And it's one of those things. This is very much a major teaser in the sense of this is not something that's going to be out for a long while because I'm very much in the very beginning process of it. But I wanted to let everybody know that I'm currently writing my own book and I actually have the start of it here in this very poorly handwritten papers, and I have several pages at this point. I actually don't know how much pages wise I have written at this point. All I know is that I am at the end of chapter 2 of my book, and I don't even really know how many chapters it's going to be. I know it's going to very much cover a lot, even in what we're doing in today's what we're doing. Um, but it's something I'm really proud about. And it's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but I never really got the inspiration until very recently to do. And that's why I was just like, you know what? I'm going to mention it today because it's something I'm proud of and it's something I'm excited for it to eventually be done so I could get it out there. And I also kind of want to just see if there is anybody out there that is interested in that sort of stuff because if that is something that people are interested in, that's something we can look at doing even more often.
I'm excited for your book. I can't wait.
I haven't come up with it. I haven't come up with the title of it yet because I very much want to see like how the whole book is written first before I actually name it. But
That'll be one of the last things to fall into place.
yeah, I think so. Unless I just title it "The Bitch."
I'm sure that would gain Ed's stamp of approval.
Probably. Nah, I'll probably end up naming it something dynamic, like I always try to do. But it's been a fun experience so far. I've never done anything like this, and it's one of those things like I don't know if it's gonna be how it's gonna go. I'm hoping that it's really well written, and I hope people like it. But it's very much just about my own spiritual journey into where I'm at today, like basically from how I started to where I am now, and it's also very much in the way that my crazy mind thinks about the universe and all the different things that we kind of try to tackle with Crooked Path Paranormal. So it's kind of a very wide range for a book, but it's been kind of fun to write so far, and I'm excited. Like I said, I'm about done with chapter 2, and I don't know, the number 10 keeps popping up in my head, so I feel like it might end up being 10 chapters. I don't know.
What if that means 10 books?
That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of writing there, bud.
I mean, I have to entertain all possibilities.
I mean, right. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be like, it's not, I don't think it's going to be the size of like the Harry Potter books or anything like that. So I think people don't have to worry about like seeing this gigantic freaking book by me. It'll be kind of a shorter book, but it'll be a book. I don't know.
I'm definitely excited for it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to read you parts of it just to get your sort of your viewpoint on certain things.
Yeah.
Especially because
Yeah.
you're definitely a lot more seasoned in that style of things.
Right.
So that's where I'm like, I look to you for like, what do you think? What do you think of this? Because like this is something that I had in my head.
No, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what you got.
Hell yeah. Well, I think that just about does it for today's episode. So I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the next film series that are coming out here very shortly. And I can't wait to revisit this topic and kind of talk about some more stuff next week.
As always, leave us some comments.
As always, yep.
We want to hear
Have a
from
good
you.
time. Have a
All
good
right.
time, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.